The soft glow of the canal-side streetlights filtered through the sheer curtains of Ilara's apartment, casting long, distorted shadows across her living room. Ilara, her usually vibrant dark hair now a disheveled mess, sat hunched over her laptop, the harsh blue light illuminating the worry etched on her beautiful face. Empty coffee mugs and crumpled bank statements littered the small table beside her. A notification pinged on her screen. Another medical bill for her ailing mother, a stark reminder of the ever-growing financial chasm. She stared at the numbers, her mind a frantic whir of calculations, each one leading to the same bleak conclusion: insufficient funds. A faint whisper, like dry leaves rustling, seemed to drift from the empty hallway. Ilara's head snapped up, her eyes darting towards the sound. "Hello," she called out, her voice hoarse. Silence. She shivered, pulling her thin cardigan tighter around her. It was just the wind, she told herself, just her exhausted mind playing tricks. But the unsettling feeling lingered, a subtle tightening in her chest. Ilara walked into the bank, her posture ramrod straight, a practiced smile plastered on her lips. No one would guess the sleepless night she'd endured, the weight of 1,000 anxieties pressing down on her. Her colleagues Thomas and Saskia greeted her warmly. "Morning, Ilara. You look a bit tired," Thomas, her team leader, remarked kindly, his brow furrowing slightly. "Everything all right?" Ilara forced a more convincing smile. "Just a late night, Thomas. Deadline crunch. You know how it is." Saskia, ever observant, placed a hand on Ilara's arm. "You need a proper break. I was just about to grab coffee and some stroopwafels. Come join me." Ilara shook her head, her smile unwavering. "Thanks, Saskia, but I've got to dive straight into this report. You go ahead." She felt a pang of guilt, wishing she could accept their genuine offers of help, but the fear of revealing her struggles, of appearing weak, was too overwhelming. She retreated to her desk, the hum of the office suddenly feeling like a buzzing hive of scrutinizing eyes. Late afternoon at her bank's desk, Ilara stared blankly at her computer screen, the complex financial data blurring into an indecipherable mess. Her head throbbed. A faint, almost imperceptible whisper reached her ears, a name, Ilara, called from the empty corridor beyond her cubicle. Her heart gave a jolt. She slowly turned her head, peering around the partition. Nothing, just the fluorescent lights humming overhead. She dismissed it as fatigue, a trick of the mind. But moments later, a shadow flickered in her peripheral vision just beyond her monitor. She whipped her head around, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. A prickle of fear ran down her spine. Her focus on work disintegrated, replaced by a growing sense of unease. Every rustle of paper, every muffled conversation seemed to be directed at her, full of hidden meaning. She felt a cold dread creeping in. Someone was watching her. A large conference room at the bank the following week. Ilara stood at the head of the conference table, presenting a crucial financial model to a group of important clients and senior management. Her voice, usually confident and clear, trembled slightly. As she spoke, she saw him, a tall, shadowy figure standing by the conference room door. His eyes, she was certain, glowed a malevolent red, fixed solely on her. In his hand, she saw the unmistakable glint of metal, a knife, though it was shrouded in a menacing shadow. Her breath hitched in her throat. The numbers on the screen danced before her eyes. The room began to spin. Thomas, sitting at the table, noticed her sudden pallor. "Ilara, are you all right?" he asked, his voice laced with concern. Ilara gasped, her eyes darting back to the door. The figure was gone. The door was closed, exactly as it had been. But the terrifying image was burned into her mind, and the cold dread was now a full-blown panic. I'm sorry," she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. I just need a moment." She excused herself, practically fleeing the room, the stares of her colleagues burning into her back. Ilara's once inviting apartment had transformed into a fortress of fear. The curtains were drawn tightly, blocking out the cheerful Amsterdam daylight. Every window and door was double locked. She sat huddled on her sofa, a heavy old dictionary placed strategically by her hand. Every creak of the floorboards, every distant siren sent her heart racing. She hadn't left the apartment in 2 days, convinced that someone was following her, watching her every move. She'd even stopped answering her phone, believing her calls were being intercepted. The world outside felt hostile, teeming with unseen threats. She closed her eyes, but the shadowy figures and menacing whispers still haunted her, even in the darkness behind her eyelids. She was trapped, not by physical bars, but by the terrifying confines of her own mind. Ilara hunched over her desk, trembling uncontrollably. She looked like a ghost, her skin pale, her eyes sunken and haunted. She had been convinced just an hour ago that a colleague had slipped something into her coffee. She'd refused to drink it, her hands shaking so violently she'd almost dropped the mug. Thomas approached her desk slowly, his face etched with profound worry. "Ilara," he said gently, placing a hand on her shoulder. She flinched violently, pulling away as if burned. "Leave me alone," she croaked, her voice raw with fear. Saskia knelt beside Ilara's chair, her eyes filled with unwavering compassion. "Ilara, please. We're so worried about you. You're not yourself." Ilara looked from Thomas to Saskia, their faces filled with genuine concern, not the malevolence she had come to expect. The sheer exhaustion of constant fear, of fighting unseen enemies, finally broke through. Tears streamed down her face, deep, wrenching sobs that shook her entire body. I think someone is trying to hurt me," she choked out between gasps, the words a raw confession. "I see things. I hear things." Thomas and Saskia exchanged a solemn look. This was it, the moment she finally acknowledged the terrifying reality. Thomas spoke, his voice calm and reassuring. "Ilara, it's okay. We're here. We're going to help you. We can find a doctor, someone who can help you understand what's happening." Ilara sat across from Dr. Brandt, a woman with kind eyes and a gentle voice. Thomas and Saskia had accompanied her to the appointment, waiting in the reception area. Ilara still felt a knot of suspicion in her stomach, but the doctor's calm demeanour slowly began to chip away at her fear. Dr. Brandt listened patiently as Ilara recounted her harrowing experiences, the financial burdens, the isolation, and finally, the terrifying hallucinations and paranoia. Dr. Brandt explained in clear, compassionate terms how prolonged stress and lack of sleep could trigger such vivid symptoms. "What you are experiencing, Ilara, is treatable. It's a response to immense pressure, and it doesn't mean you are going mad. It means your mind is overwhelmed and it needs support." Ilara, for the first time in months, felt a fragile flicker of hope. She was not alone, and there was a path forward. The road to recovery was long and arduous. Ilara attended regular therapy sessions, slowly learning to trust Dr. Brandt and process the overwhelming emotions she had suppressed for so long. She started on medication, and gradually, mercifully, the terrifying whispers began to fade. The shadowy figures lessened, then disappeared entirely. Thomas and Saskia remained her steadfast pillars of support. They visited her at home, brought her meals, and encouraged her to take walks. They never pushed, simply offered their unwavering presence. Ilara slowly began to emerge from her isolation. She even started to pick up small tasks at work, her focus gradually returning. She was still dealing with her financial challenges, but now, with a clear mind and a therapist's guidance, she was actively seeking solutions. Months later, Ilara sat at a cafe table with Thomas and Saskia, the warm sunlight bathing her face. Her dark hair was once again vibrant, her eyes clear and sparkling. Laughter bubbled up from her as Saskia recounted a humorous anecdote from work, a genuine, unforced sound that had been absent for far too long. "You know," Ilara said, looking at her friends, a profound gratitude in her gaze, "I honestly don't know where I'd be without you two." Thomas smiled. "We told you, Ilara. We're a team." Saskia squeezed her hand. "And you're incredibly strong, Ilara. To face what you did and come back from it, that takes true courage." Ilara looked out at the lively canal, watching the boats glide by. The city, once a source of suffocating anxiety, now felt vibrant and alive. The fear was a distant echo, a memory of a dark time, but it no longer defined her. She was still on her journey, but she was no longer alone. She was recovering, healing, and most importantly, she was finally enjoying her life, surrounded by the warmth of friendship and the promise of a brighter future.